Now I want to go play Mass Effect again. Dang.
This podcast is part of the Gonna Geek Network. The opinions expressed may not reflect those of other podcasts or affiliates of this show. We're Gonna Geek. Check out other geeky podcasts at GonnaGeekNetwork.com. Get ready because geekiness commences in 3, 2, 1.
You are listening to the Starling Tribune, a podcast dedicated to the Arrow TV show.
This guy gets more airtime than the Kardashians, right?
This podcast is not produced or maintained by the CW, Warner Brothers Television, CTV, or DC Comics. All characters, situations, and stories are the properties of Time Warner.
Check out other geeky podcasts at GonnaGeekNetwork.com. Get ready because geekiness commences in 3, 2, 1.
You are listening to the Starling Tribune, a podcast dedicated to the Arrow
What the
TV
hell
show.
is it? Technical difficulties.
This podcast is part of the Gun...
Right?
This podcast is not produced or maintained by the CW.
Was that meant to do that again?
I was listening, I guess, apparently, on the live page. Oh, I'm sorry about that. Okay, and your reporters for this 21st screwed up episode of the 3rd season of Arrow, titled Sah-Him. I am Stargate Pioneer. My friends call me SP, and with me is Jay.
I sense you mocking me.
And Neil.
Vigilante skills run in my blood.
And Chris.
No Glocks on the dinner table.
I'm not sure what the doctor's orders are for when somebody gets brought back from the dead, but I'm pretty sure getting into a fight with the League of Assassins goes against them. So welcome, Neil, for stepping in for Wing this week. We really appreciate it. He is off doing who knows what. Actually, I think he's working. But for the rest of us, we're here on Free Comic Book Day, podcasting live on Saturday morning. So it's a pleasure to have everybody listening to us.
Actually, SP, this is Avengers Day for me.
And for a lot of people, it is Avengers Day. So, listener, go out, get your free comic book, and go out and watch Avengers if you haven't already, like I have. And I guess nobody else has because, well, they don't have a Marvel podcast, so they don't have to. So, this podcast is recorded on Saturday, May 2nd, 2015. We're just a few guys that love to discuss the TV show Arrow. And just a reminder that I am certainly not a comic expert. I'm really a sci-fi guy in disguise. But I'm catching up with all the comic lore thanks to these guys, like Jay, who happens to be a comic fan and enthusiast.
Yeah, and, Wing will be very happy I finally started on Saga, so he can stop complaining.
Saga! Yeah, you know what? I'll give you a little secret. I've actually bought it on Comixology, too.
Nice.
Yeah. And Jay, who's a lapsed comic fan who's returned back to the fold.
No, actually, yeah, well, kind of. Wait, you weren't talking about me again, were you?
No, I was talking about Neil. Did I not say Neil? Did I say Jay instead?
Yes, you did.
Yes, you might have said Jay, but I'm back and loving it.
And to make sure I get his name correctly, it's Chris, who is our resident comic book geek.
Yeah, but don't tell Wing I'm 2 volumes behind on Saga.
Well, you're still like 20-some volumes ahead of me.
There's only like 4 volumes, dude.
Okay. Oh, volumes, not...
Volumes.
Trades,
okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, you can still catch up on all of our shows at GonnaGeek.com. You can also check out StarlingTribune.com, which will take you directly to our webpage with all our back episodes. So, Neil, did you happen to find out who directed and wrote this episode of Arrow?
Yeah, so directed by Thor Freudenthal.
Thor! Buddy!
Crossing streams.
It's kind of like he was meant to direct comic book and genre TV and film. So this is his second episode of Arrow that he's directed. The first was The Climb, which I think really stands out during season 3. Well, especially for anybody who's a fan of Shirtless Ollie. He's also done Out of Time with The Flash.
That was a good one.
So you're saying Thor likes to direct episodes where Oliver Queen dies?
They call him in.
Right.
This is the Marvel agenda.
We gotta kill Oliver, bring in Thor. I hope he speaks in Old English like Thor from the Marvel comics too. Have at thee, Stephen Amell.
And you haven't seen Avengers yet, so I can't say anything about what you just said. But in this episode of Arrow, it was written by, wow, they had a bevy of writers on this one.
Yeah, they had Beth Schwartz, who has the story credit, who does a lot of Arrow. She's done like 14 episodes now. And the teleplay was then adapted by Brian Ford Sullivan and Amelia Ortega Aldrich. So together, Brian's done 6 episodes from the teleplay standpoint, and Emilio's done 2. So they've got some cred on this show.
They do, and it's enlightening as I podcast about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. or am invited in on Walking Dead or anything, and I take a look at the writers and the directors for these episodes. There's getting more and more expertise out there that they're growing the next level of take your pick on the seniors in both DC and Marvel. So it's good to see this level of expertise that's available now. And they have to, because there's so many shows to diversify all the talent. But this first, to get into the show notes, I'm looking at this first show note. It was actually going to be my alternative quote at the beginning of the episode. If you haven't noticed, we do a quote from the episode. We each say a line from the episode. And the first note is that, who wrote that in there? Neil, was that you? Or is Chris?
No, I can't take any credit.
That was me.
Okay, go ahead, Chris. You get the credit for that, so go ahead.
Yeah, our first theme for this week, in all caps with about 6 exclamation points, is Darth Ollie.
Absolutely. Man, he looks even more stacked in that League of Assassins costume versus his Arrow costume. Is it the neck thing? Like the absence of a neck? Or what?
I think it's just because Stephen Amell's a badass.
He is.
Well, and part of it is I was going to bring this up in the checklist, but it was no voice changer. He just went straight bad voice this time.
He did.
And every time he spoke, I'm like, apparently there's something in the air around the League of Assassins, because you spend time with him and you start talking like this.
That was pretty good.
I kind of wanted him to say, "I'm Batman" at some point.
He probably does on set.
Adam brings up a good point. The chat rooms were talking about Darth Oliver. There was a new voiceover this episode too, and we were talking about this pre-show, and I felt like a moron because I didn't catch it the first time. But Oliver goes, "I was Oliver Queen," or "My name was Oliver Queen," to open the show, and I was like, "Oh, how did I miss this?" And then I felt dumb.
I just happened to be listening to it and was like, "Oh, wow, that's a change." Okay, well, that's how we go. It's how Arrow rolls. But I guess Jay and Neil were like, "Oh, I got it the first time. I got it the first time."
Oh no, it was my second time that I caught it. Yeah.
What really stood out for me was the fact that Darth Ollie changed how he stood. Like, he changed his pose. He kind of rotated one shoulder back whenever he had just a standing scene, exactly the way that Matt Nable stands as Roz. And I was like, all right, you nailed this.
I did notice how he was fighting the, I don't know what you want to call it, the Diggle at the beginning of the episode, the hallucinative Diggle at the beginning of the episode, that he had the one hand behind his back, and his fighting stance was even different, the way he held his forefoot and his rear foot. So it was definitely more Ra's al Ghulish than Ali.
Well, he carries himself like Ra's al Ghul now. You can see that throughout this episode. His stance, the way he walks. I mean, he's keeping himself like Ra's is, always ready to fight and superior to everyone almost. It's interesting. I like this transition.
It wasn't the only transition we had this episode either, was it?
No, it was not.
So also Thea showed up at the end of the episode.
Speedy!
Yeah.
Oh, that was awesome.
Oh, I have one favor. Can you delve into Ollie's costume bank and get me something? I mean, what's the favor? It had to be in that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Suit me up?
Yeah.
Yeah. And that was the thing that I loved at the beginning, when she's basically offering to make Diggle a costume. And he's like, "Don't you dare say costume."
Right.
Yeah.
No, identity concealment.
That's
Identity concealment device or something like that. I was like, fantastic.
All right, was anyone else slightly concerned at the very beginning? Like, did they really just kill off Diggle that way? Because I'm waiting for the day that it happens.
Yeah, I know.
And it happened. I was like, did they really just do that? Like, it took me a minute to say, like, no, it's not.
There's one of three places Diggle's going to die: a season premiere, a season finale, or a mid-season finale.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
But if they did it something like this, that would have been impressive. Just like, oh no, first couple minutes of the episode and done.
Maybe
And
I'm
then,
getting a little too jaded. I expect them to screw with my head at the beginning of some of these episodes after big changes. So I was like, this has got to be a dream.
Well,
Yeah,
they
Chris,
are.
I'm with you on that one.
They are in Nanda Parbat, so even if it was Diggle, they'd just throw him in the pit.
Yeah, I mean, and I also saw the preview for next week at the end of last week, and Diggle factored in it. So I'm like, this can't be right either.
Right. Well, who knows? They could pull off the biggest, feint in history and say, well, okay, we have all these scenes of this character in the next episode, and they kill him off at the beginning. Like, what happened to those scenes? Haha, we were just joking. I could see somebody pulling that off.
Did anybody else catch what Raish told him after the fact? Like, as soon as it happens, he explains to him why he saw that.
Yeah,
Magic herbs.
Yes. Magic herbs. That's right. From
Next thing
Lian Yu.
Next thing you know, he'll be slapping water to become a better swordsman.
Oh,
Adam
man.
in the chat brings up that this kind of episode, like 2 or 3 before the end, was exactly where Moira died last season. So
It was building up so much last year that you needed her to die 3 or 4 episodes before the end in order to make that crescendo to the whole city being in a fight, battle, whatever. The siege of Starling Tribune, I guess, is what we called it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So Adam also brought up another good point. If you think about that flashback, not flashback, the illusion or whatnot, Ollie kills Diggle. Diggle's Oliver's conscience. So is that Oliver killing off his conscience?
He doesn't tell Ra's al Ghul what he saw.
Yeah, I did pick up on that.
I think that's very important to note that Roz was like, okay, whatever. I think Roz was making some strategic mistakes in this episode. At the very end, he doesn't have Oliver killed Nyssa, and it's like he's going soft or whatever.
I don't know if it's a strategic misstep. Well, I mean, it is a misstep. I don't think he's doing that because of Oliver in that case, but because there's probably a part of him that does still truly care for his daughter.
Right.
And that's how he can legitimately save her without having to... That was me. I've just realized we're not on video, and I mimed slicing my own throat and making a noise.
Finger to the throat means death.
Yeah. Sorry, guys. Nobody saw that but me.
Did you see? Are you looking into a mirror?
No,
Then
I
you
can see
didn't
I can see my reflection in my monitor. Oh,
So your monitor isn't on while you're podcasting? That's unique.
one of them isn't.
Okay. All right.
Oh, this is going down a rabbit hole.
Because I forgot to plug in my external monitor cable. So
Now, I have received a lot of feedback that this was one of the best episodes of the season so far. What do you guys think of that?
It was interesting. I will definitely say it was interesting. I do think that we can just completely... Okay, in the flashbacks, Akito starts to die, and we don't need to mention anything else about it at all. Like, nothing else happened in the flashbacks.
that's been the problem with the flashbacks most of this season is you've only needed small bits and pieces of the flashbacks. They've been a little overdone.
Yeah.
yeah,
And I mean, I remember episodes where it was just like the flashbacks were the episode. That's what you wanted to pay attention to. And here it's just like, oh, really? Another flashback? Can we just get back to the stuff that actually matters?
Well, and you know why those were. In part, it's because Slade Wilson and knowing what's going to happen to him is what made those flashbacks so fun in Season 1, Season 2. A comic fanboy knows Slade Wilson becomes Deathstroke the Terminator. Something's going to happen here. And this is not a slight on the characters we have in these flashbacks, but Slade Wilson, the way Manu Bennett played him was much more interesting than Katana and Maseo. Brain fart, sorry.
Yeah. Well, and the fact that we pretty much knew what happened to them, halfway through the season. Like, you could tell exactly how the story was going to play out. So it really doesn't carry any weight. We're like, okay, yes, give us the obligatory explanation for those of us not paying attention, and let's move on.
Yeah, I didn't see any benefit to those scenes whatsoever this week, other than actually seeing Akio bleed from his mouth at the end. And it's sad, but we knew it was coming, so I guess I'm just so desensitized to it. Whatever.
So this is the show that loves to swerve us a lot. Does anyone think there's a slight chance that Akio lives in some way, shape, or form, but the method in which he is saved is what causes Katana and Maseo to split apart?
No, I think he's dead.
Yeah, given how direct all the flashbacks have been this season, I don't think they're going to swerve on that.
There's a very tiny part of me that thinks part of the reason Maseo might have joined the League is to use the Lazarus Pit to bring his boy back.
Yeah. Honestly, I can see that happening. I don't know if it's going to, but I can definitely see where you're getting that feeling.
Do I think that's what's going to happen? No. But the little conspiracy theory part of me in the back of my head is whispering, going, he might be alive. He might be alive.
The part that's always trying to figure out what they're up to. Yeah.
Exactly. And that's the part that gets me in trouble.
Trouble, trouble, rubble, rubble.
So,
well, Cisco did an amazing job with the Canary.
yeah. I don't know. One, I think it's a little contrived. Like, you're just going to stand there and scream, and your neck piece is going to do all the work. Like, when it's a superpower, okay, then it makes sense. But if it's just a device on your neck, why don't you have it, like, remote controlled?
They did the same thing in Smallville.
I don't know. I stopped paying attention to that show after, like, season 3.
Fair enough.
But, yeah, it just seems a little bit stupid at this point. Like, yes, okay, it's a callback to the comic and whatnot, but for the practical purpose of it, it makes no sense. And if you're not watching Flash, you have no idea what the heck happened. All of a sudden, she's just got supersonic scream and lights on her neck. Like, they didn't explain it at all.
Well, it could have been Palmer.
I think there's an expectation that most people that watch Arrow are also watching Flash.
Yeah,
versus
but I know
the other way
people
around.
that don't.
That's true. I mean,
yeah,
So-
we've got people that listen to both Crimson Comet and Starling Tribune on the Gonna Geek Network that don't watch the other show, and they say that why? I mean, Willie Nelson's one of them. So
yeah. And Adam brings up a point in the chat room that I was going to bring up also. He goes, it could be controlled by the muscles in her neck. I mean, because it's strapped tight up across her neck, and it could be similar to how Spider-Man triggers his web shooters. Just the right amount of pressure on something is what triggers it.
Yeah,
So
and
it's an anti-bark collar.
Yes, exactly.
Basically, yeah. And she's fighting with her hands. I mean, she's a hand-to-hand combatant, so giving her a remote control or something that she needs to press could impair her ability to kick butt.
Yes,
and
but so
she
does
is
standing.
kicking butt now.
But
sorta.
standing there with your mouth open, screaming at somebody, also impairs your ability to fight, though.
See, I'm not going to hate on that because that's straight out of the comics. And even if it might be a little impractical, I enjoyed it.
So
Do I think they're going to do it a lot? Probably not.
if you're going to go out in Starling City in the middle of the night and you're going to try to, be a superhero or whatever, and you've got this collar on that lights up when you use it, and you got somebody that's not in the range of the thing that's looking around, they can tell exactly where you are.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's Laurel. She's pretty useless anyway, so what's it matter?
She held her own for about, 17, 18 seconds at the end.
And then the dude pulled out a sharpened piece of bottle, and all of a sudden she's completely on the ropes.
Oh, I was talking about at the end with the trade-off.
Well, I will give them credit. They are consistent in the fact that she doesn't magically become a great fighter. You're seeing progress, but she's not magically in the span of 2 episodes like the greatest fighter ever.
Thea
Which
is.
It killed me because as soon as the guy pulled out the knife, the thing that started playing through my head was the Amazing Spider-Man part where he's like, "Oh, you found my weakness. Small knives."
Well, I'm rooting for her now, which I wasn't before, but effectively she's a meat shield for Team Arrow.
Ooh, well said.
Oh.
Yeah, I know I'm sad, but it's true.
No, well said. I'm not sad.
Well, she's definitely the one who's always saying, yeah, we need to do this right. Kind of the justice talk in the group.
Mm-hmm.
Like Felicity's the emotional one. Laurel's the justice one. Diggle's like the conscience. So you got 3 of them. They're all coming. It doesn't matter what argument it is. They're all on the same side every single time. They don't change.
Thea's on the revengey side.
Well, she is a queen.
Yeah, and a Merlin.
Her dad's a supervillain.
That's right. How'd you get in here? My dad's a supervillain. Oh, and by the way, you left the door unlocked.
Hey, you brought up a point about Felicity being the emotion of the show. I mean, you get to see a lot of that this week as like her heart breaks again when she realizes what's happened to Oliver, and you get to see everyone's reactions to it, which I think is great. But there's that moment where you see Felicity go down in the old Arrow cave, the old Quiver, if you will, and start crying, and I was just like, oh, That sucks.
Yes, all the feels.
Yeah. I didn't understand why that was happening other than to show how heartbroken she was.
She was going back to where everything was last right in her world. Was when it was them down there on their mission to save Starling City.
So after this is all over, do you think she's going to go to Vegas and like clean up out there?
She's going to partner up with her mom and clean up.
I could see that. What superhero would her mom be?
Ooh. Who has powers of persuasion? That's almost like Star Fox in the Marvel universe, I think. He's like persuasion and making people be attracted to him. So I guess that's closest to what Felicity's mom would have.
Kind of like Enchantress, but that's Marvel as well.
That's true. I can't think of a good DC comparison. Sorry, DC fans.
Star Fox, and all I'm thinking is the power to do a barrel roll.
Do a barrel roll.
Is there anybody else? But I kind of miss the Freak of the Week episodes at this point. I mean, the storyline has been dragging on a bit, and it's solid, but I miss the cameos, the shout-outs to comic book fans where you get to see, ooh, that's another supervillain. That's cool. That's where they came from.
Well, they basically shot their wad when they got Palmer in on most of the episodes. Because if you look at the credits, he is listed as the guest star whenever he's on.
Yeah, I think that I like occasionally having that one-off episode to break things up, but at this point, I don't think a one-off episode is really going to fit in very well when you've got your main character that is now evil.
Yeah, true.
It feels like they could have put more one-off episodes in the middle and just sprinkled a little bit of information in, and then kind of crammed everything towards the back end. And I think that might have worked better instead of trying to tell the story over the entire second half of the season.
I think there's also a little lesson learned that some of the least interesting episodes were after the mid-season break when Stephen Amell wasn't getting as much screen time. There were a lot of people that were just kind of like, I don't care as much. So when you have him go evil, and presumably he would not be in Starling to fight the Freak of the Week if he's Evil Ollie, I don't know how many people would enjoy that. I could be wrong, and if I am, let me know, guys.
No, but there could be a team up with another villain or something like that. A use, kind of like there was this week in Flash.
See, what I want to see right now is Evil Ollie / the League go to Lian Yu and go get Slade Wilson out.
Yeah, I was so thinking that was going to happen.
I want to see those two on screen together, Evil Ollie and Slade.
Oh, jeez.
The team's back together again.
Throw Shadow's twin sister into the mix, and we're good to go.
Oh, God. That's how you make Slade go insane. Don't tell him
you
it's
mean-
a twin sister.
You mean again?
Oh, more insane. Let me rephrase.
Insaner.
Okay, so there's a throwaway line, as there are in these episodes, and I was wondering if anybody caught it or what it means, since I'm not a comic book guy with the history. They mentioned that an exchange would happen at Fullerton and Halstead. Do either of those two names mean anything in the DC universe, like writers or artists?
They might be referenced. In the past, they've made a lot of references to writers and artists with street names, and it probably is in this case, but I didn't catch the reference.
So if anybody in the chat knows, if anybody's listening to the podcast, listener, if you know what is going on with those two names, please let us know at our Twitter handle at Starling Tribune, or you can catch me at Stargate Pioneer, not Starling Pioneer, Stargate Pioneer at GonnaGeek.com. I would appreciate that.
Sounds like you need a new Twitter account, too. You can be Starling Pioneer also.
Should do that right after the show. Absolutely.
If you're listening live, you can poach it from him right now.
Yeah, right now. Right now. Okay, so Felicity is told that this is just like Jakarta. At the end, when they're doing the trade-off between Lila and Nyssa, and then Lila comes over, gives her a hug, and takes the two pistols from her back. That was awesome.
Yeah, that was kind of obvious that was coming, though.
Right.
Like as soon as Felicity was like, "Don't you touch me," I'm like, "Oh, she's the one that's packing."
Yep. It's a nice way to establish the fact that Diggle and Lila, they have a history of where they've worked together in the past, aside from being now married and formerly married. They know how each other think. So they'll have nice little catchphrases like that can make someone go, "Oh yeah, this is what's going on."
Right, but then that sets up a the well choreographed fight scene that was going. It was like 3 or 4 different fights, right? But it was all going on within like one caged match area, so they were all simultaneously. I had to watch it like 3 or 4 times. It was awesome.
Yeah,
really
this show
was.
continues to knock it out of the park on fight choreography, and the great thing is on the CW's YouTube channel, Bam Bam, the fight choreographer, keeps posting the behind the scenes, how they choreographed, how they practiced, how they pulled it off. The last video they posted was how they did the cage match video, and that was pretty cool.
Oh, no doubt. I have to go watch that then.
Yeah, I've enjoyed watching those because it is a lot of fun seeing how it gets shaped.
So I have to say, in this fight scene, I thought it was great to see Lila hold her own, because in this season, people might start to forget, oh yeah, she was a badass Argus agent and a badass soldier before. She's not just Sarah's mom.
Yeah, it was nice seeing that, and actually having someone almost not really to replace Oliver, but still, it's you have another member of the team that can really add to the dynamic.
Yep. So at the end, we alluded to it before, talked about it before. Nyssa and Oliver are now betrothed, and I thought that was not only one slap in the face to Nyssa, but 2, because it's not something that she ever would have done.
Right. Yeah, I feel like it's just more of him manipulating the situation. I don't think that it's actually going to follow through, and if it does, then that means that Nissa's going to die. So please don't let it follow through.
Well, see, it was interesting from my perspective, because I didn't necessarily see it as manipulation between the two, but more of Roz's desperate ploy to save his daughter, because he's not quite ready to kill her.
Yeah.
Or doesn't want her gone. It could be the other way around. It could be, here, I need to manipulate these two into doing something so that they're off balance, yada, yada, yada.
Well, and I think that he truly believed what he said to Oliver too. He's like, no, you've broken her. At this point, killing her would just be gluttony. Like he had obviously proven that she is not going to be the next Ra's al Ghul.
That's true.
So why kill her at that point?
And on a side note, we've seen an interesting evolution of her character over time, especially what you get in this time, where she's sitting in a restaurant having a milkshake and fries with Laurel and seemingly relaxed and not all about the League and all about her father like she had been so much in the beginning.
How much do I have to pay to be a part of that dinner? Like, name the price.
Yeah, and I was thinking about this. Like, I actually hadn't considered that Roz still has feelings for her. I came down more on the side that he's going to continue to rub her face in this. Either he's still disappointed or he's holding something against her. Given her sexuality, given that she was the heir to the demon apparent, I just think it's insult after insult, which kind of sucks.
See, I'm kind of looking at it more from Nissa's Artalia substitute from the Batman world.
Well, yeah.
And she can kind of get away with whatever she wants with her father. Because he never quite pulls the trigger on getting rid of her. They disagree, but he doesn't really kill her that I can think of. Unless you go in the Batman Beyond cartoons, but we won't go there.
Well, it's kind of one of those things, too, where you could see it from the point that everything he's doing is just to get back at Nyssa for choosing Sarah. Because clearly that was a decision he didn't approve of. They've talked about it before on the show. And everything since that point has been him basically messing with her.
Well, we could take that one step further if we look in the little Starling City conspiracy machine. If we fast forward to the ending, where dun dun dun, the Alpha and Omega are going to wipe out Starling, is this all a ploy to destroy Starling to get back at her? Then his plan is kill Ollie, and she's right where she is, and all memory of what was going to happen before is taken care of.
Ooh, that's an interesting theory.
I don't think it's going to happen. Like,
I don't
personally,
either.
that's way out on a limb. Not after he's gone through all this effort to create Ollie into Sah-Him, but
Well,
it could happen.
There's another conspiracy theory floating around out there that Oliver's playing Roz right now, and I don't believe that one. I think that's wishful thinking.
Well, he does have a resistance to drugs. Even when Felicity drugged him, he came out of that pretty quickly.
He does, but this has been a heck of a lot of brainwashing and stuff like that. I think there's a part of him that resists, but I don't think this is Oliver making a conscious choice to play Ra's al Ghul to set him up for something later.
Okay, Roz wants somebody to come in and help him get rid of Damien, or what's left of Damien, or whatever. Tell me about Damien. I have no idea about Damien Dark, or whatever his name is.
Yeah, at first I thought it was a reference to Damian Wayne, who is
That's
Bruce
what I thought,
Talia's
too.
kid. And I did a little research and looked things up, and I guess he's actually a character in the comics, Damien Dark, who's the head of Hive, which we've had mentioned before.
Right.
I remember Diggle.
He makes reference to this when he's explaining to Oliver. He says, he has a hive of agents. I was like, oh, that's how they're tying it in. Okay.
Yep, and remember, Hive is the one that had Deadshot kill Andy Diggle. So there's your connection back to Diggle. And they've been setting up this Hive stuff for a while, or they set it up and realized they could use it for something else. I don't know. But it'll be interesting. It's obviously setting up season 4 to be all about Hive.
Yeah. And this is a nice way of saying, oh, wait, we lost Suicide Squad. Now we can tie in Hive this way instead.
Until they make a Hive movie.
Don't even go there.
I could see it happening, though. It's funny now, but I think Chris is on to
you've got
something.
somebody sitting there at Warner like, okay, let's make sure that any reference they come up with on Arrow, we're going to turn into a movie because they're going to do it right, and then we can just completely ruin it.
Well, you don't know if they're going to ruin Suicide Squad or not.
so
You haven't
Come on,
seen it
really?
yet.
Really?
Did you guys see the pictures of Deadshot from the Suicide Squad?
Yes.
Well, did you then see the costume, I guess, got revealed?
Yes.
And I was okay with the costume, but the pictures of Will Smith on set in civilian persona Deadshot, I was like, no.
The thing that killed me about the costume, I was like, wait, did that say Deadshot or Deathstroke? I can't tell. Like, it doesn't look anything like Deadshot. That was it looks cool. I'm not gonna fight that, but it does not make me think of Deadshot at all.
I wonder if Will retained creative control over his costume in the contract. It's like, no, I want to look like Deathshot or Deathstroke. Excuse me. I could see that happening.
Adam in the chat is mentioning that the costume reveal was a fan trying to get on set. I haven't seen that break yet, but if that's the case, then we still haven't seen the real costume, which, all right, let's see what it is.
Could be like a Rocket Raccoon mask running around Guardians of the Galaxy.
Well, the thing is, the characters had so many different looks. Like I think the one they've gone with most in the comic books is the bear head with the eyepiece, or sorry, in the TV shows, both Smallville and here. But when he had his solo run, he had the full silver head garb with the red eyepiece as well. And I was just thinking, there's no way that Will Smith is going to let his entire head be covered in a silver mask.
Mm-hmm.
There was something I saw on Facebook this morning. I'm thinking it might have been a fan picture, but they made Will Smith have a very similar get-up costume-wise, at least face mask-wise, to what Floyd Lawton used in the Arrow show, where he had like a big lens over one eye and kind of a headset around that. You could see most of his face, but there was like a headphone microphone combo coming across down his mouth, and then the big targeting reticle over his right eye, which could be kind of cool.
Yeah, like that I could see happening.
Okay.
I don't know.
I took us down the rabbit hole. I apologize.
Yeah, no, these rabbit holes are good. They're fun. That's why we podcast, because not only to make fun of what's on the screen and laugh and cry about it, but also get to know a little bit more about it too. Right, guys? Right?
Sure, we'll go with that.
All right.
Definitely.
So, Neil, what else do you have on this episode that we haven't already talked about?
I think that's it for me. Those were the points that I wanted to cover. How about you guys?
Jake?
A couple of things. Like I loved Laurel's line when Nyssa left, and they're like, "Well, we shouldn't have let her leave." And she's like, "No, it's okay. I put a tracking device on her.
I wasn't.
Yeah.
born
This isn't my
yesterday."
first day."
Yeah.
Pretty sweet.
That was pretty good.
I was like, "Wait, Laurel made a funny. Laurel made a funny."
See, even you're starting to like her a little bit.
I like her when she's in the costume without the mask. That's about the extent that it goes.
Okay, yeah, that mask is just, it's just too, like right above and below the eyes, the points, it's just too wide at that point for me. Anyway, Chris, what do you got?
We got a couple things we can touch on checklist-wise that we hadn't already. We already talked about Damien Dark and that connection. The smoke bombs that we see the League use. Nice shout out to some of the smoke bomb work done in Batman Begins.
Yep.
Yeah.
As soon as they dropped those, I went, theatricality and deception.
Theatricality?
Theatricality and deception. Yeah.
Theatricality. Okay.
That's how he says it in Batman Begins, I think.
All right.
Yep. And then we talked about the Canary Cry and Speedy.
Speedy.
Speedy!
I can't wait to see the evolution of that costume though, because I want to see it more like the comic costume.
Oh yeah, and she found out that Roy's still alive.
Yes.
That's a big thing.
I was just thinking about that.
So do we know that Colton Hayes, his contract ended and he's going on to do better things or whatever. Do we think that he's actually going to show up for like the finale? He's going to come back and help one last time before leaving again?
He is credited for one more episode, and he's still in the credits too.
Yeah, he was credited for this one too.
Yeah.
Just like Paul Blackthorne, and neither of them were in it.
Yeah, that's true.
So I want to take us back a second to when Thea shot Oliver. I completely forgot to mention this. I thought it was incredibly awesome how Oliver takes care of the arrow shot to his arm. Where he just takes his sword, like slices it right off.
It was just like he was poked with a fork or something like that. He was like, ugh, and then he's like, ugh.
Now, see, that was one of those things that makes me think that Oliver's not completely under control because, all right, so like we mentioned, he doesn't tell Raish what it is that he saw. And then at the end, he hesitates longer than he should have had he been fully brainwashed, giving Thea just enough time to shoot him. So it's like I don't think that he actually would have killed her.
Do you think he knew he was there? She was there, rather?
I don't know if that's the case, but I think that he's fighting against the brainwashing far more than it's being shown.
Well, I think that's especially the case with Thea because remember, he did all of this for Thea, so I don't think he's going to turn around and then kill her. Even if he's brainwashed, there's this part of him that's like, this is all for her.
Now, I didn't pause it, but was she wearing red or was she wearing black?
Oh,
it
was
black.
Hard to tell. It seemed to me like goldish on her arms and black on her. But it could have been a really dark green, too. I did freeze frame it. I did try to figure it out, but me and color don't get along too great. Like those... That dress color thing that went around a while back. Don't get me started on that.
So I didn't notice. Was the bow she was using, was that Oliver's?
No, it was a green one that was compound. It looked like it was specifically designed for her.
Okay. I figured it was probably a specially designed one, but I thought about it after. I was like, I wonder if they had her use his own bow against him.
No, I think that was part of the daddy suit me up thing.
Yeah.
You know, hey, Dad, can you take me down to Dick's, buy me a bow and a hoodie?
Oh, you know that he probably had that like tucked away, waiting for her to take it or something.
Yeah,
he's got that planned. He's had that since like season 2.
I'm thinking she probably was wearing that get up when she killed Sarah too.
That could have been.
Yeah, that could be.
That would be twisted.
Yeah.
If he just pulled that. I just happen to have this thing for you.
I still have them all on my DVR. I will go back and rewatch where they reveal it was her and see if it's the same costume.
Okay. Well, that'll be for next week. All right.
One last thing I had checklist-wise.
Yeah.
There's a great Bat checklist item here where Oliver, who is our Bruce Wayne analog, is marrying Ra's al Ghul's daughter, Nyssa, who is our Talia analog.
Right.
And I saw a great comment somewhere. It was, so does this mean that Oliver is Bruce Wayne's brother-in-law now?
Nice. The DC family tree grows and grows and grows.
In one direction.
Oh, so Neil found a really good picture that he put in the chat room. I don't know if you guys saw it. That is a comparison of the Speedy costume to what Thea is wearing in the show when she shoots Oliver. So if you have a chance, go click on that. It's tough to tell the color. I think there's a big reflection on the black leather arm. So
I think that's what it is.
I think it's black.
I do too.
That's what I'm thinking too. It does look really cool because she does have at one point, I don't know if it's New 52 or the old stuff, that her costume was black with yellow highlights instead of red with yellow. So the golden glow on the arm is kind of a nice call to that. I don't know if it was intentional or not, but
I'd like to give them credit. They've been really good about shout-outs like that in this show, so it very well could be.
Yeah.
So a couple days ago, I just happened to go into my local comic book store. I was in that area of town. I went in, and all the DC shelves were completely redone with this convergence event that's going on.
Yeah.
I was like, okay. Yeah, right. if I was more into the comics on a day-by-day basis or a week-by-week basis, I'd probably just scarf all that stuff up. But all the covers look the same.
It's a trap. It's a trap.
I know. All the covers look the same. It's got that little slant color, black, red, whatever, and yellow. And I was like, okay. Well,
this is a rant for another show, but Convergence is an attempt to try and bring people in again, a refresh of things, sort of like they did with the New 52, and I'm just not buying it.
Well, so I am buying it, unfortunately. and I'd have to agree with Adam in the chat, who just said the Green Arrow one wasn't bad. And it is so nice to get a new story with proper goateed, slightly older Oliver Queen meeting up with his son again for the first time in I think it was a post-Final Crisis or post-Zero Hour Convergence event. I'm not a fan of New 52 Ollie. He's not the Ollie I want. He's not the Ollie I need. He's not the Ollie I love. So to finally get classic Oliver Queen Green Arrow, that was pretty cool. And if you're a fan of the Earth 1 with Thomas Wayne as Batman, that's the primary Convergence storyline. So
okay, that's kind of cool then.
Yeah.
See, my main complaint is just that when they announced they were going to do this every 5 years, at that point, I lost any interest in getting involved. I'm like, well, if somebody tells me something's good, I might check it out, but I have no desire to follow the stories anymore because, well, they're just going to redo them again in a few years. So why am I going to bother?
This is my hope for how we get Wally West back.
Wally West.
So Wally West comes back in the Speed Force conversion. With his two kids that are attached to him by the Speed Force leash, and in fact,
I'm gonna want to read this.
Yeah, not Flash Convergence, but Speed Force Convergence, and they team up with Fastback from Captain Carrot and the Zoo Crew, and guys of certain ages, I did collect Captain Carrot and the Zoo Crew back in the day.
All right, so
there's one more item we haven't talked about, and that's finally the convergence. Let's see what I did there.
Yeah.
Of the flashbacks and the current storyline with the Alpha and Omega coming back into the main story.
Right.
It's like, oh, wait, we got to tie this in somehow. Crap. Give it to Ra's al Ghul.
Give it to Nyssa.
Yeah.
She had that crap in Starling City, in her dagger, or whatever it is. It's like, ew.
That could have ended badly.
Exactly. So, did everybody watch The Flash this week?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Neil, did you watch Flash?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, I did.
So, we're not a Flash podcast. That's over on Crimson Comet, which is also on the Gonna Geek Network. You can go to GonnaGeek.com and see Crimson Comet. They podcast all about Flash, including some of the comics. And this summer, I guess, they're going to do drunken commentaries of the 80s live action show. So 90s. So there you go. But do you guys want to say anything about what's happening on Flash?
Should we talk about the newspaper article?
Yeah.
Yes.
Let's go ahead and do that.
That's the big thing. If you've been watching Flash, they've had the big reveal of who the big bad is. And there's a article from the newspaper that is written April 25th, 2024 that has played a huge part in the Reverse Flash's plans. And let me just read you guys a couple lines out of this. After an extreme street battle with the Reverse Flash, our city's very own Scarlet Speedster disappeared in an explosion of light. The cause of this fight is currently unknown. According to witnesses, the Flash, with help from Starling City's Green Arrow, the Atom, and Hawkgirl, began fighting the Reverse Flash. So here's the big reveal. He is going to become the Green Arrow at some point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I really think that that's going to be what happens after he breaks away from the League. I think that's going to be the part that kind of spawns it all, and he becomes the Green Arrow at that point.
Well, it's interesting that storyline also includes Hawkgirl, too.
Well, we know she's coming up. I mean, they've also made a big point right when Dream Diggle was about to get killed in the opening sequence. He goes, "It doesn't matter what color your hood is, green or black. I know who you are," or something to that effect. So they've been playing more and more on the green color of things.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they have from the beginning,
right.
Between the season 1 green lighting on everything to the Verdant, which is green, right, in French. So green's been around. We haven't seen a lot of it this season, but it's good to see any reference to it.
This is the first time that we've gotten a reference to Green Arrow since season 1, I think it was, when
when
Malcolm said it.
Yeah.
He's like, what should we call him? The Green Arrow?
We also got another interesting point in Flash when they're talking to Gideon the computer, where she seems to reference that Barry is one of the founders of the Justice League without actually saying the words Justice League.
That's
Yeah, because he
true.
cuts her off.
Yeah, and one would assume that Green Arrow probably is as well, since, for lack of a better term, he's the godfather of superheroes in this TV universe.
Right.
Very true.
Yep.
So we also have that news article on Legends of Tomorrow with Victor Garber.
Yeah, so Victor Garber, who plays Professor Martin, half of the Firestorm Matrix, actually kind of spoiled it, whether or not the spoiler really at this part, potentially confirming that the new spinoff is going to be called Legends of Tomorrow, but really coming out and saying that it's going to start filming in August and air in January. So the CW effectively has their Peggy Carter now.
That's
interesting.
And you could continue a storyline that ends off in December, and you can continue it to the point. Well, but Sarah's in there too. I don't know. They haven't said what time frame this thing is? Have they? Like,
well, the only thing what I've read is that they want to do small 2 to 3 or possibly 4 episode arcs focusing on different characters, and that's why you've got such a weird variety of people. So you could have a Captain Cold and Heatwave arc, the last 3 or 4, a little 3 or 4 episode Firestorm arc, and a call out to what was going on in the Gideon article in Flash, a Hawkgirl arc. So it could be interesting.
Yeah, but is it happening in real time, or is it in the past, or?
Yeah, I don't think
that hasn't been revealed yet.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we also sort of, about 2 weeks ago, John Wesley Shipp was at a con, and he referred to this show as Legends, so shortened Legends of Tomorrow. So I would say that the name is we're probably good on it. It's something Legends related.
Okay. Any more news for the week, guys?
No, I think that's it.
Any
I
more?
can't think of anything.
Any more checklist items? Any saved rounds in your quiver for the episode?
The final thing is Roz, again, from the checklist, is going to destroy the Hero City, just like in Batman Begins. And
good call.
Yeah, effectively also going back on his promise to save Oliver Queen's friends, because you can assume that he knows they're all going to be there when he destroys the city.
When, not if, but when.
In his mind, it's when.
Oh, okay. All right. So we have a voicemail this week, and if I can get my soundboard to work properly and not repeat back to me, do you guys want to listen to it?
Let's do it.
Absolutely.
Bring it on.
Wow, there are just no words for this episode. I pretty much hated Oliver. And, Nissa is a badass, as usual. And, having Oliver and Mateo try to use the Alpha Omega on Starling City isn't going to backfire on you at all. Especially since I saw what looked like a katana costume in the preview for the last 2 episodes. Can't wait to hear what you guys think. Talk to you later. Bye.
So what kind of costume was he talking about? It was a katana?
Yeah, the katana costume.
Okay.
In the thing for next week, you actually see her pretty much in costume.
Awesome.
Which is cool, and I think they learned from when they did it, like the Ravager costume that was close but not perfect. I think they're almost going spot on with the new image. So I'm down with that.
Haven't we seen her once before, like close to the mid-season finale, in full-up costume when she was at the shipping docks? Or was that slightly different?
Slightly different. So the katana costume that we're seeing, and I'll try to throw it in the chat here, is she's got a big rising sun, like Japanese flag, plastered on her forehead. And we definitely haven't seen that yet in the Arrow show yet. So I'm looking forward to it.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for the voicemail, Adam. We really appreciate you getting back with us every week. If you want to call in and have your voice heard on our podcast, go ahead. Call us at 1-612-888-2283. That's 612-888-CAVE, C-A-V-E. So we're part of the Gonna Geek Network, right, guys?
Yep.
Last time I checked.
Yeah. And on the network, we have a variety of different shows, one of which is a new show to the network. It's not a new podcast. They're actually on episode 81, but they podcast about Game of Thrones, which is on the air again, air, quote unquote, on HBO, so it's not really air. But it's called Tyrion's Landing, and their latest episode is called The House of Black and White. Arya has to wax on and then wax off. Jon Snow knows nothing about beheading people now. Margaery throws some massive shade. Also, Sansa, no! Yes, Sansa, no. I don't know what you're doing, Sansa. I saw that episode. Sansa, don't. No. Join Tyrion's Landing as they talk all about it. So go ahead, check them out. Check out all their past episodes as well if you want to get caught up on Game of Thrones. So next week we'll be talking about, actually we don't have another week off, but next week is episode 22 of the third season called This Is Your Sword. And so that'll be cool. How many more episodes do we have? Is it 2 or 3? I think
it's just 2.
2 episodes. So it's the penultimate episode next week, huh?
That's correct.
All right. Well, thank you, listener. We really appreciate you. Thank you, everybody that joined us on Chatwing. We really enjoyed chatting back and forth with you. We had a couple of people in there today. And even if we don't read what you say, we are watching the chat as we podcast. You can find all of our contact information on the Gonna Geek Network at gonnageeknetwork.com. You can check out all our forums and all the other shows on the network, including Tyrion's Landing. But we have a bevy of other shows as well, comic book and geeky related. As mentioned before, please call our voicemail line at 612-888-CAVE. So, any last words at Scopound?
All right, I'm going to cheat, but it has to be done. I'm going to go with Gone, but Never Forgotten.
Hear, hear. At Roundtable Nerds.
Darth Ollie.
At Neil Isn't Witty.
Nisa.
And I'm going to go with Air. So this has been...
This was the Starling Tribune. You can leave us feedback at GunGeek.com or check out our archive at StarlingTribune.com. Visit GunGeek.com for more podcasts. Music by Kevin MacLeod can be found at Incompetech.com. This podcast is not produced or maintained by the CW, Warner Brothers Television, CTV, or DC Comics. All characters, stories, and situations are the properties of Time Warner. No infringement is intended. We will see you for the next episode of CW's Arrow.